Hi everyone. Notes 1.5 are on the sine law, and all of page 9 is an investigation that we have done together in class. If you are not in class for this, then go ahead and try the investigation on your own. And all of this information is information that we filled in class. So we're on page 10 right now, and on page 10 we need to try these examples. So before we move on, I just want to remind you what the sine law is. So remember, the sine law is just sine of A over A is equal to sine of B over B, which is equal to sine of C over C. Now when we have the sine law right here, you only need two ratios. Because in a proportion, it's two ratios that are set equal to each other. So let's go ahead and see how we can apply this information to question number 1. So number 1, it says find the measure of angle C to the nearest tenth of a degree. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is, if this is angle A, then across from it is side A, and we use lowercase a for sides and uppercase A for angles. If this is angle B, then across from it is side B, and if this is angle C, then across from it is side C. Now, since we want angle C, we need to use sine of C in our proportion, okay? And the other thing we need to look at is, what information do we have that we can use? So we have the angle B is 55 degrees right here. Oh, sorry, I should not do that. So we have the angle B is 55 degrees right here, and we also have that the side across from it is also 55. It's just a coincidence that they're the same number. So we also have a pair, and that's B and B over here. We can only do this if we have a pair where we have an angle and a side across from it that we know, where we know both pieces of information, okay? So based on that, we're going to use these two right here, okay? So we're going to say the sine of B, but this time we know that B is 55 degrees. So the sine of 55 degrees over the side length of B, which is 55, is equal to the sine of C. This is our unknown, so we're going to say sine of C right here over 40. Now our goal is to get that C alone, okay? So if you remember, whenever we have a proportion, we need to always cross multiply in order to solve, okay? So here, when I cross multiply, it's going to be 55 times the sine of C is equal to, over here, it's 40 times the sine of 55. Now my goal is to get the C alone, right? I want to get that C by itself. So I don't want this 55. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 55 right here. And I end up getting that the sine of C is equal to 40 times the sine of 55 degrees all over 55. Okay? We're almost there, but again, our goal is to get the C alone right here. So in order to get the C alone, I'm going to do inverse sine, because that's how I get the C out of the sine of everything that's left over here. So 40 times the sine of 55 over 55. This is probably the hardest concept in this unit. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask me. Rewind if you need to in order to follow anything that happened in this video, okay? So when I type this into my calculator, I'm going to go to scientific calculator right here. I'm going to go to my function, and I'm going to do inverse sine. Now, in order to get this fraction in here, I'm actually going to press the divides button right away so I have the fraction immediately. So I'm going to type in 40. Oh. So I'm going to go to the numerator. I'm going to make sure I'm up here. I'm going to type in 40 times the sine of 55, and then in my denominator, I have 55. Okay, again, make sure you are in degree mode right here. So that's what this expression says right here. So if I press enter, it asked us to round to the nearest tenths. So it's 36 point. We've got a 5 here, but there's a 6 that comes after it. So it tells us to bump that 5 up to a 6. So I get that my answer is approximately 36.6 degrees. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 2. There's a typo on your paper. It says find the measure of side C to the nearest degree. This should say find the measure of side E to the nearest degree, okay? So in this problem right here, we are given angle E, and we want to find side E. So right here, what we'll do is, since we have D, E, and F instead of A, B, and C, we'll write out sine of D over D is equal to sine of capital E over lowercase e is equal to sine of capital F over lowercase f. And we want to find side E, so we definitely need this part of our ratio, okay? Now, we are also given side D, and we know that this is side D because it's across from the angle D. But here's the thing that makes it a little bit more difficult for us, is that we don't have angle D. But we can find angle D because we know that the angles in a triangle will always add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so the first step that we need to do is find angle D. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take 180 and subtract the sum of the other two angles, so 49 plus 72. So I'll go ahead and add 49 plus 72 together, so 49 plus 72, and I end up getting 121 right here. So I'm going to get 180 minus 121 is angle D. So right here, that means that angle D is 59 degrees, because if I do 180 minus 121, I get 59. So this is no longer a mystery. So we have sine D and side D in order to be able to figure this out. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's fill in our information here. So we know that D is 59. So sine of 59, so here's step 2, over side D is 57, okay, is equal to, by the way, number 2, where it says find the measure of side E to the nearest degree, it should be, it's a side, so it's not a degree, so it should be to the nearest meter. Okay, and then here we're going to do sine of 49 over side E, and we're going to have to cross multiply. Okay, so here it's E times the sine of 59 is equal to 57 times the sine of 49. Okay, so in order to get this E alone, I have to divide by the sine of 59, because now the E will be alone, because the sine of 59 will cancel out. So that means that E is equal to 57 times the sine of 49 over the sine of 59. So I'm going to type that into my calculator. The first thing I'm going to do is press the divides button here, so I can get my fraction immediately, and I'm going to type in 57. Again, make sure you're in that numerator. 57 times the sine of 49 over the sine of 59. I'm going to press enter, and here I end up getting 50.18, so on and so forth. I need the nearest meter, so it's going to be 50 meters, because that 1 tells us to keep that 0 the same. So E is equal to approximately 50 meters. And that's all I have to do for that type of a question, okay? Okay, so in number 3, it says solve triangle ABC given angle B 57 degrees, A is equal to 17 centimeters, and B is equal to 18 centimeters. So first of all, we need to draw a picture, because if we don't see a picture of what's happening, then it makes things a lot more difficult to be able to solve. So the other thing that's really important is to understand what it means where it says to solve triangles. So when it says solve triangle, what it means is to find any missing sides or angles. So let's go ahead and draw a picture of what's happening here. So we'll label this A, B, C like this, which means that this side length here is lowercase a, this side length here is lowercase b, and this side length here is lowercase c. Okay, and we know that angle A is 57 degrees right here. We know that side length A is 17 centimeters, and we know that side length B is 18 centimeters. So when it asks us to solve this triangle, we're going to find everything that's missing. So we are missing angle A, we are missing angle C, and we are missing side C. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can figure out any of these pieces of information. Now, the good news is that angle B and side B are given to us, so that's a pair that we can actually use to find the sine law. Okay, so let's go ahead and use that piece of information. We also are given lowercase a, so let's go ahead and write out sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C, and we're given B, okay? We're also given lowercase a, and we want to find uppercase A, so we can use this other ratio in order to complete our proportion, okay? So here, what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is find angle A, because I have enough information to do that. So I'm going to say sine of A over lowercase a is 17 is equal to sine of B, which is 57 degrees, excuse me, over lowercase b. So let's go ahead and cross multiply to figure this out right here. So when I cross multiply on this side right here, it's going to be 18 times the sine of A. And then when I cross multiply on this side over here, it's going to be equal to 17 times the sine of 57. Now, to get that sine of A alone, I have to divide both sides by 18. So sine of A is equal to 17 times the sine of 57 over 18. So to get this A out of here, remember I have to do inverse sine, and I get 17 times the sine of 57 all over 18. Okay, so all I have to do now is just type that into my calculator to get an approximate answer for how big angle A is. So I'm going to do the inverse sine right here. So I'm going to go to function, I'm going to do the inverse sine, and then I'm going to put in my fraction by pressing the divides button. Okay, now it's 17 times the sine of 57 over 18. So right here, make sure you're in your bracket for that to work for you. 17 times the sine of 57 all over 18 right here, and I end up getting 52.4 degrees approximately here. So this answer over here is going to be approximately 52.4 degrees. Okay? So here I'm going to write 52.4 degrees for angle A, and I'm going to write it up here as well. Okay, so now angle C or side C are both pieces of information that are missing still. But to find angle C here, I have 2 out of 3 angles in a triangle, so all I have to do is subtract these 2 angles when I add them together from 180, and that'll tell me how big angle C is, okay? So step 2 is going to be to find angle C. Okay, and again, it all adds up to 180, so it's going to be 180 minus 57 plus 52.4, okay? So C equals 180 minus, let's go ahead and add those two together. So 57 plus 52.4, and I get 109.4, okay, right here. So I'm going to subtract that number from 180, so 180. Now, one thing I want you guys to be aware of is you can just do minus your answer, which is what you got from the previous answer here, and that's equal to 70.6. So C is equal to 70.6 degrees. Okay, so we've got another piece of information here. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can label this in here as 70.6 degrees. Step 3 is going to be to find side C. Okay, so again, let's write out sine of A over A equals sine of B over B equals sine of C over C. We want to find C, so we need to use this part. We have A. We've got both A's and we have both B's, so it's up to you what you want to use. I'll use B because it's not a decimal for my angle, but if you wanted to use A, it's totally fine as well, okay? So here I'm going to say the sine of B, which is 57 degrees, okay, over lowercase b, which is 18 centimeters, is equal to the sine of C, which is 70.6 degrees, over lowercase c, which is unknown right here. So I'm going to cross multiply. So C times the sine of 57 is going to be equal to 18 times the sine of 70.6. Now to get that C alone, I have to divide by the sine of 57. So C is going to be equal to 18 times the sine of 70.6 over the sine of 57. Notice this time I don't have to do inverse sine because the C is not an angle, and so I can just figure out what C is directly. So I'm going to type that into my calculator, okay? So right here I'm going to do my division, and we have 18 times the sine of 70.6 all over sine of 57. So I end up getting 20.2 right here. The 4 keeps the 2 the same. So C is equal to approximately 20.2 meters. Okay, so I can write my therefore statement and then I'll be done. So therefore, the measure of angle A is equal to 52.4 degrees. The measure of angle C is equal to 70.6 degrees, and C is equal to 20.2 meters. And that's how I solve for a triangle. Okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with everything, and I'll be around to help out. Okay. Really quickly, I made a quick mistake that we need to fix here. Because A and B were given to us as centimeters, that means that side C is also in centimeters. So this should say 20.2 centimeters, not 20.2 meters. Okay?